Hey friends, I'm Greg Nettle, and I have the privilege of serving as president of Stadia Church Planting, as well as the host of the Church Planting podcast. Man, today's guest, Daniel Escobar, is born and raised in Baja California, Mexico, relocated to Virginia in 2002, just 2 years after getting married. He and his wife first planted Iglesia La Red in Williamsburg, Virginia in 2005. And then 7 years later, he and his family moved to Washington, D.C. to plant their second church. In 2017, he and his wife founded La Red Network, which is a church planting network in the U.S. and throughout Latin America. And he's the director of that church planting network. That's now his main focus and what he's going to be talking about with us on this episode of the Church Planting Podcast. Daniel Escobar. Hey, everyone. I'm really excited about today's episode of the Church Planting Podcast. I've got my really good friend Daniel Escobar on this episode, and Daniel is also a member of Stadia's advisory team, and we're just exploring all kinds of partnerships together right now. Daniel, so good to have you with us, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for the invitation. It's an honor for me to be here, and looking forward to chat and talk to you.
Yeah. Okay, Daniel, so you're a church planter, but I mean, many facets of the words. You just made a move to Tennessee, and I know it was the first time you didn't move for church planting, right? And
That's
so
correct.
kind of give us a bit of your story, with church planting. How'd you get involved? What'd you do?
Okay. Yeah, well, when I moved, I'm from Mexicali, around the border with California in the Mexican side, and I moved in 2002 to the States. After being here, I planted the first church in Virginia. So me and my wife, we planted the church there in Williamsburg, Virginia. We were pastors there for around seven years. And then after that, we moved to Washington, D.C. We felt God, calling us to that city. So we moved to Washington, D.C. To do our second church plant. And for me, that was, and also for my wife, Misty, that was very, very good season in a way because we were exposed to church planting. I didn't know, Greg, about church planting networks. I didn't know about all these assimilation process, all the stuff, all the resources and everything that exists. So when we planted the first church, it was pretty much a small group and it grew. No strategy. We were not planning to plant a church. So it was definitely, God had a plan, different plan for us. So, and then in DC, we went through a couple processes and, we connect with some good leaders that they help us with the process and we planted the second church. And so that was in Washington, DC. And after a few years being there, that's when God was, calling us to start this church planting network in Latin America. And that was the beginning of La Red Network.
Yeah. So, okay. So you plant a church in Virginia, then you go to DC and you end up planting two churches. Man, when you came in, what were you thinking? You came in, you're not coming in with any networks. Did you have any training? Or did you just get out there and just do it?
Well, the first time I didn't have any training. The first time it was, I got my pastor. I got some good leadership around me. I was, part of a healthy church in Virginia. And they saw the calling and they saw, we support that. And that's how we planned. But it wasn't no strategy at all, a lot of passion. And, but in Washington, D.C., it was, I connect with a couple of local church planting networks. And even we already planned one church. We wanted to go through a process to really kind of learn and grow. And that's what we did. And that really helped us tremendously to really kind of bring more structure. I think that one of the things that, Latinos, we have a lot of passion, but sometimes a lack of structure. And that was really helpful for me to really kind of put a plan together and even learn. It was just a learning experience. But that was something that in DC, we did it with a plan. So it was an 18 months plan and we developed it and we planned. So that was a pretty good experience.
Okay. And then, this is all fun for me to hear because now, knowing you now, I didn't know you then. And now you have all kinds of plans and systems in place and the La Red network and so forth. So it's good to hear. That's not where we start. We've got a lot of learning to do along the way. But today, like you said, there are organizations and churches that can really come alongside church planters. And so we don't, we can learn faster, I guess, if you will, and not make the same mistakes. Talk about La Red, because this is, I've been so fascinated, as you know, and encouraged by what's going on. Give us the 10,000-foot view of what La Red is.
Well, La Red, we want to plant churches in Latin America and equip the local church. Two things. We want to just
there we go. That's the
right
10,000 view. That's the 10,000-foot view. Okay. And you've been doing when did La Red start?
We move, well, let me go back a little bit. When we transitioned the church in DC, part of the strategy for us is we moved with my family to Latin America. So that was in 2018. Yeah. I didn't want to be, with all respect, I didn't want to be like, here, this is how we do it. And I learned, and let's go in Argentina, Chile, and Guatemala, whatever. This is how. So part of the process to learn more is we move. We move almost 3 years, 1 year in Mexico and a year and a half in Argentina. So that was awesome. That was great. So that was part of when we start, 2018.
Okay, so I love that. Now, here we are 4 years later. How many churches are involved in La Red now? How many churches have you helped start?
We helped start last year. We trained over 15 couples. And right now we're there in the process of starting churches. And right now we have 11 churches that we're working on the process to plant. Plus, we have some churches that are adding to the network because they want community, they want to keep growing and all that. So we just came 2 weeks ago from Chile, Uruguay, and Argentina. So I don't have the new count of churches that they want to be part of. But we're probably, talking, a little bit 30 churches.
Okay. And so this is really fun for me because I love hearing your vision for what's going on. And if any of our listeners, churches are out there and they're going, man, I'd love to get involved in church planting in South America and Latin America. Hey, this partnership with La Red is something we're pursuing hard at Stadia. So contact us at Stadia. Where can they go, Daniel, if they want to contact you directly? What's the La Red web address?
Yeah, it's larednetwork.org. That's the website that you can just go there, and there's a link there that, I want to plant a church. It's in Spanish, of course, because we're focusing in Latin America. So, there's an English tab too, but, I want to plant a church or I want to be part of the community. So you can just link there. And also we just come out with an app, a couple of weeks ago. So also you can just find us in Apple Store and just download the app. And also you can find resources and also how to connect with communities in different countries.
Okay. Why the name La Red?
Luke 5, the net, casting the net. So that's when everything started. Honestly, we just, when God put a division and that name on our heart, I didn't know it was going to be in different countries. That was the second church plant that we did. That's the name of the church, Iglesia La Red. But after that, everything started making sense because our heart, it was really kind of start giving resources that we have and also be a bridge for other church planters. And that's how we started La Red Network. It was really nothing like, oh, we're going to go and plant churches all over. It was literally people reaching out to us. And for us, it was an honor to really give the little bit that we have, talking about resources, talking about advice, talking about mentoring, and also making connections. And yeah, but that's where the name come, the Luke 5.
I love it.
La Red is the net in English.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's just perfect segue for us because I'm watching what you do in the development of leaders. Can you talk about, you just said you had all these couples coming through for church planting and being trained. Talk a little bit about your processes of how you're multiplying and training leaders.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Pretty simple process and learning from you guys and from different people. The first phase is we call it, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know you. Different meetings, different people, everything is very organic. We just want to get to know your heart. We have a process in a way, under the first phase about, personality tests and marriage and all that good stuff. But the main thing is we want to get to know you. And then the second phase is going to be just go to a church planting assessment, and we just go through classes and all the good stuff that you already know. And the third phase is going to be just when we walk with them, 12 months or 18 months, whatever the plan is to plant a church. And we assign a coach or somebody who's going to walk with them not in that season. And I think that's very important, Greg, because I remember with me, that didn't happen. It's like, let's go and do it. This is the tool. This is all and then go. And then after we went and tried to plant a church, we were like, oh my gosh, now what? Because it is not simple, it's not easy. You're going to have a lot of challenges. You're going to be discouraged as leader. And people sometimes they're not going to respond as you want them to respond. So that's why I think it's very important for us to really have somebody there in the monthly basis or a weekly basis to cover spiritually and also in the personal level, every couple and every leader that they're planting a church. And the next phase is after you plant a church, we also have somebody who's going to walk with them in the personal level as well, just to kind of see how they're doing and all that stuff, because this is not easy. You have to be called to plant a church. Not because you preach, not because you communicate good. That means that, God wanted you to plant a church. So that's very, very, very serious.
Okay. So Daniel, so much of this, of what you're doing translates into the local church expression. So, I love the processes for church planters. So you're a church planter or you're a leader in the local church. How would you go about in that same way, the La Red, the net, casting the net within the church to multiply leaders?
Well, we have two ways right now that we're doing, and we're learning through the process. But one church that they want to be part of, for example, I know in Buenos Aires, Argentina, there was a church. It was a church for, over 10 years, existing church. They came to one of the events that we have. We call it La Red Intensives. It's a one-day event, so they come and we just share church talk, where, leadership, teams and all that. So that's one of the ways that, established churches, they can come and connect, and then they make friends, they get to know the heart of La Red, the culture, and then they just go through monthly calls and all that stuff. So that's one of the ways that we just identify new churches that they want to be part of. And honestly, one of the things that is working for us, because we're in the beginning stage, is word of mouth. We just came from Argentina. 3 weeks ago, we did a La Red Intensive after 3 years. The last one we did in 2019 when we were living there. And I was surprised, because when we were in the intensives, we have 50 people, 40 people, leaders, no advertising, just word of mouth, people that they know each other. So they just came, and we used to talk about church planting, multiplication, and leadership development and all that. After 3 years, we were doing nothing. 3 weeks ago, we went, and we have over 130 people showing up, and 70% of the people I didn't know. So we got a good problem. We don't know. We'll see what we're going to do after in the next months because these people, they just want to connect more with La Red. And that's why it's something that we're just learning about how to navigate that, because there are different countries and different expressions of churches. And it's awesome. It's awesome. But we're just learning through the process, to be honest.
But I'm thinking about, so I'm a local church leader. I'm a church planter. And my goodness, in my experience, Daniel, and I'm certain it's yours as well, this idea of raising up leaders and multiplying leaders within our local congregation, the local expression of the church, whatever that looks like. Man, there's such a similar process to what we take church planters through. I mean,
that's right.
Okay, we want to get to know you, right? And then we're going to kind of go through a type of assessment, if you will. And then, my gosh, if we could, get people a coach for 12 to 18 months before they actually move into that leadership role. So often we just kind of toss people any warm body into a leadership role, especially in those days. I was guilty of it in early church planting. I remember going to get our first financial director, and they hadn't even become part of the church yet. And I was like, hey, I need you guys to become part of the church because we need an accountant. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what have you learned along the way about multiplying leaders like that and discipling leaders in the local context?
It's very interesting because I'm fascinated about diversity. And definitely sometimes we just realize as leaders that we're the ones stopping the growth. And not because we want to control, but sometimes we just don't know. And I think that's very important about, now connected with new leaders and also established churches and pastors, really kind of come out with a map for them to really just, raise leaders that they can just multiply. And also talking about church planting, plant churches to plant churches. I love the story about one church in Argentina. Their pastors, when we started walking with them 3 years ago, we helped them. That was very cool because that was the first time we were part of the launch team, but we were not pastoring. We were not going to be, we were not the key leaders, but we were part of the team. And it was very cool because we were in those meetings. And then after everybody left, we just kind of got an assessment. Hey, how we do? So we talk. Now they're pastoring in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's fascinating, but it's one of the things that the one-on-one is very important, just to really spend time with leaders and also just send them, It's fascinating when you really kind of put your hands off and really kind of, believe on those leaders that you have around you, God has around you, and really, you're going to be the bridge for them that do better things even than you. So these leaders now, I hear them saying how we're going to plant the church that is going to plant churches. They never even know that terminology before. He's like, what? And I'm talking about a different country, okay? So just not to listen to that, of course, there was a lot of meetings. It was a lot of processes, with them about the church planting assessment and all that, but they got it. So I think it's very important as leaders just to really kind of have the map for them and be very, very intentional and, sharing your heart and the culture of the organization. And that way they can develop, more leaders they can multiply leaders.
Okay, Daniel. So, Stadia has been really hardcore, working hard towards kingdom diversity, really for the last 3 years. I mean, really going after it. And man, I've just been learning so much.
Yeah.
My wife and I just moved into the city of Cleveland, so we're actually the minority race here. And here's one of the things I recognized. Most of my life, I viewed my position as helping people of color, and we have moved into the city of Cleveland so that people of color can help us become like Jesus. And
wow.
that's a big, beautiful, wonderful shift, right?
Yeah.
Because we should be helping each other and get over this. We're here to help you. So help us right now. Help me, because I can learn so much from you. When we're talking with Latino church planters, Latino leaders, what are some beautiful strengths you see in the Latino culture that would be something we need to know about in other cultures around the world?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. I can talk a lot about that. Just to mention a couple things. When you want to reach Latinos or work with Latino leaders in America and also in Latin America, you're going to find some loyal people. Loyal that they're going to go the extra mile without asking. And I remember me, now that I look back, I think of myself, I was crazy, but I didn't know that was doing and everything because this is what we do. When I planted the church for 7 years, pastored for 7 years, didn't take any dime. I wasn't even in my heart looking for something else. I was there for 7 a.m. in the English speaking service, 1:30 p.m. Spanish service, all the way to 4 or 5 o'clock. And then Monday at 6:30 a.m., I was going to work. 7 years. And I would that was it. No options. That was it. And now looking back, I was like, man, that was crazy. I don't know how I did that. I was like, wow, man, that was, but that's part of sometimes who we are. God let us go through those processes, But, now going back to working with different Latinos, and you're talking about the culture, right? Go to Argentina, go to different countries, talking about church planting, talking about being the church, not just doing church, man, another level, next level. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got everything here. Like these guys, you're talking about meetings at 12 p.m., 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm not saying every day because it's not healthy, but you're talking about loyal. You're talking about really going all in. Wow. No resources. They make it work. You're going to make it work. Money is not going to move us to do the calling. Okay. We're just going to go and we're just going to make it done. We're just going to get it done whatever we can because God is going to be adding, whatever he needs to add and resources, they're going to come. And that's part of my story too, but we can talk about that later. So I think you're going to find loyal people. If somebody's listening and they want to plan, and I get this question a lot, Greg. Hey, I'm in Tampa or I'm in Ohio or I'm in Nashville. I want to reach Latinos here and I got everything, but I don't know how. I would love to. I would say just get into the culture, get into the, be in your heart. You want to embrace that. And you're going to find really good people that they're going to be loyal to you. and they're gonna, help you to advance the kingdom. But I got that question a lot. Second thing is passion. I think you probably everybody knows that. We part of, if we're all in, passion is gonna, take us and help us just to go through adversity to everything. So that's probably a couple things that I want to mention.
Yeah, the warmth of the Latino culture is just this beautiful thing that, I've talked to Julie and I said, man, I would just love to live in a Latin community someday. And, because
awesome.
I love it is, there's nothing like it, right? Anywhere in the world that I've found. And so I think we need to learn that, man, there's so much that we can all learn from each other. I mean, we always need to approach, each other with a posture of learning and humility, and not thinking that we already have the answers, because
that's correct.
Other cultures bring so much to the church planting world, and so much that we can learn from each other. And so I've so appreciated your posture of inviting Stadia in to, in some ways, hopefully be beneficial to La Red. But on the other hand, the way I'm looking at it is we're coming in to learn an enormous amount from La Red and how we can, work together, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think, Greg, I think you mentioned something important, but it's about, you have, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, you have the structure and you have the passion. And when we come together, it's very powerful. Passion, 2 piece, powerful 3. So it's important. Like, I go to the South and I can see a lot of awesome things, but I can see also, man, we have to learn. We're talking about structure, talking about processes, talking about, be good stewardship and all that stuff. So I think it's a win-to-win. So that's why I love talking to people like you and learning from Stadia and learning from different organizations about really multiplying. And I think it's another thing is very important is to be, and you probably heard this example, when you're on the table and you're the smarter guy, you're probably in the wrong table. So it's very good to put ourselves and expose sometimes ourselves and be in a table like, hey, I'm listening. In that table, it doesn't matter your accomplishment. I don't care how many church plants you've done. I'm listening. I'm here to learn. And I think that's a vital thing as leaders, that we have to allow ourselves to be in those spaces, because those uncomfortable moments is going to help us grow. Those uncomfortable moments are going to help us go to the next level, and our influence is going to grow. But we have to have that, a lot. And yeah, so I think going back to what you're saying, I think that's why together we're better, and together we're going to reach more.
Yep.
And that's part of multiplication.
Yeah. So I would even go with you when you talk about being the smartest person at the table. You're at the wrong table, and I would say if you're at a table and everybody there is like you're now at the wrong table as well. That's the way I feel. Because we need that diversity around the table to learn what God's doing worldwide now and in different cultures. Daniel, you've been at this church planting game now for a number of years. You're younger than me, but you've been around for a while. What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you were first starting as a church planter back then?
Slow down. Not my time, it's his time. I did a lot of things that I didn't know, right? But I felt like I can pull it off, and I just one of the things that I probably would have just wait and not do things and not make decisions in the around the spot. I also surrounded myself with more leaders. I always been very intentional on that, but I think more now, because I'm aware of that I need diversity around me. I need business people around me, but also pastors and different colors that you're saying, But back then, I was learning about it. You remember this mentoring thing is, I don't know about, but it's kind of not new, but for another generation, it's kind of new. My parents, they never even heard about I have a mentor. What is that? So I don't know what for me, I always been intentional, but I learned that. It was not like I grew up with a mentor. Now I hear my daughter, she has 2 mentors, she's 19. So it's more part of, but before it was more like, I just trying to figure stuff out. So that's one of the things that also just have good leaders, not just within the church, on the church plan, but also outside. Have very good people that they believe in your vision, and that it's gonna save you a lot of years.
Man, that's just good wisdom, my friend. Daniel, how old were you when you made a decision to follow Jesus?
I was 12 years old.
Yep. 85% of the people on the planet make a decision, do so before the age of 18. You were 12 years old. And, that's why we have to be starting new churches that intentionally and strategically focus on the next generation. That's just, we just have to, because today's church isn't enough. There's not enough of them, as you know, and it's not going to reach the next generation. Totally. Your daughter at 19 years old is going to need a different type of church. My son at 14 years old, who's, on the gaming platform so much of the time, is going to need, right? He's going to need a different type of church. So, Daniel, I'm so grateful for you and your partnership. Thank you for being on the Church Planting Podcast, man. And and for serving on the Stadia advisory team as well. And I just can't wait to see what our partnership unveils in the future.
No, thank you for the invitation. I hope this helps anybody. And again, I'm so excited to keep walking with you guys and learning from you guys. And just keep that relationship. And thanks again for having me.